Hello, what's up YouTube photographer Ronix from Ronix Photography, and in this tutorial today I'm going to be showing you guys the basic Lightroom tutorial, and this is going to be a step-by-step for all beginners and all those who would love to learn how to edit their photos in Lightroom. So it is going to be like a basic adjustment tutorial for everything you're going to learn about photo editing in Lightroom. So first of all, you have to learn about how to import your images or how to import photos in Photoshop. So when you're importing Photoshop, I'm using Lightroom Classic, Adobe Photoshop Lightroom Classic, like this, and come to File. If at all you want to import your image, come to File and come to Import Photos or Video. So when you click there, it will get you the different your folder where you would like to get or import your image from. And otherwise, the other second method for importing your photos. So this is where the images are. I hope you can see the different folders on the PC. So the other second method for importing your images or your photos is by coming right here and clicking on the import button. So it will bring you back to the folder or the different locations where you can select your images so that you can start editing them in Lightroom. So for this case, I'm going to look for a folder on my PC that I'm going to be editing. So let me get it right now. So you have to look for where your image is stored or the location of your images. So I'm going to just look for it. So I'm going to click right here, then I'm going to look for the image I want to edit, basically. So look for your image, and I'm going to scroll and look for the image we are going to. So when you click on the folder where the images are, they're going to be displayed right here, and you can see every single image has these ticks. Yeah, they are checked or marked. So when you click uncheck all, you'll have no selection of the images. So you can come and individually click on a single image if at all you want to upload only one single image to import it into your Lightroom for your editing process to start. Or if at all you want everything in that folder, you can just come and click check all. So for purposes of this tutorial, I only need one image, so I'm going to uncheck all. Then I'm going to move this slider until I will be using this very image. This is the image I want, so I'm just going to come and click or select this image and click import. So your image, the progress is going to be shown right here, and after your preview is shown, remember now you can't edit this image before going to the develop panel. So when your image is just right here in your library, you can't edit it and you won't be able to access the adjustments on the right hand side. So this is the timeline for all the images. So if at all you import a number of images, they will be displayed right on this lower timeline. So when you want to edit, first of all, come under the develop mode. So when you come to the develop mode, so just click on it, and when you click on the develop mode, this is your image. So these are the basic settings for the image. You can see it is a raw image or a raw file, and I shot it at this is the shutter speed I shot the image. So basically this is the information button or the information of your image and the time you may have taken it and the equipment used to take the image. So this is the image. We have imported it. So usually I'm going first of all, usually we have this panel right here on the right hand side. So this panel on the right hand side contains the basic adjustments. So you can see now, if at all your image is not a raw file, this is a a Canon extension. So Canon RAW images have CR2 as an extension, and Nikon has NEF. So if at all your image is a RAW file, first of all, we want calibrate the image in order to get back most of the colors the way we are looking at the image in the camera screen, or how we are looking at the image initially on the camera screen. So in order to do that, you have to know the camera profile you shoot in. So different cameras have different camera profiles, that is to say landscape, portrait, and vivid, standard, monochrome, and so on. So depending on the camera you're shooting in, you have to get to know the camera profile if at all you shoot your images in RAW. So come under and click right here on the profile. So we want first of all calibrate the image to get back most of the colors. So this is more of the first step of color grading your images. So come and click on Adobe Landscape. So usually for me, I shoot in landscape, that's why I've chosen landscape right there. So this is the image. So right now we have most of the colors back. So in order to remove this information, the image information, from distracting you when you're going to do your editing, just click I or press I on the keyboard a couple of times, and it will be gone. So come under the basic adjustments. So the very first two sliders, we have the white balance and the temperature, tint, and so on. So you can see this is the white balance, and when you turn this towards the left hand side, you'll make your image cool or bluish, and when you turn it all the way to the right, you'll get your image to be yellowish or warm. So in order to reset whatever you have done on your images, just come and double click on this triangular icon. So when you double tap on it, it will get back to the original or the default. So first of all, we want to get the right white balance. So you can just get your white balance selector tool. That is it. So when you click on it, it will get this picker, and now look for a white color on the image. So just look for a white color. You can zoom in by clicking Ctrl+ to zoom in. So just pick a white color. So when you click on it, you'll get the white balance you need. So I'll just showing you guys how that really works. So after you have done that, remember this warms up the image, this temperature slider. So for this tutorial, we want to first of all warm up our image. And now remember, I shoot with Canon, and Canon initially adds tint or magenta fill to the images. So remember, if at all you turn the tint towards the right hand side, the image will get magentas, and the opposite of magenta is green. So when you turn it all the way to the left hand side, you'll get more greens in your image, as you can see in this image. So we're going to reset by double tapping right there. So just want to remove just a few colors or a few tints from the image. So you're going to go with around -7. And the other thing I forgot to tell you, if at all you shoot in JPEG, remember JPEG usually has all the colors, so you don't need this profile correction settings. Sorry, you don't need to click on it, because if at all you imported your JPEG files into Lightroom, you won't be able to access this profile option. So it is only for raw files. So after we have done the tint, right below the white balance panel, we have these settings right here. So you can first of all expand or decrease this by just clicking right in on this line and dragging to the left or right to decrease or increase on those sliders. So we have the exposure, and what exposure does, this slider for example basically lightens or darkens the image. So for purposes of this tutorial, just going to pump up the exposure a little bit like that. So you can see on the histogram your image is now properly exposed. So after that, we have the contrast slider. So if at all you want to add contrast to your photos or your images, this is the slider you use. So when you want to add contrast, remember when you moving the slider towards the right hand side, we'll be adding the particular effect, and when you turn it to the left, will be decreasing. So if at all you want to add contrast into this image, we are going to move it all the way to the right. You can see you have added contrast to the image, and when you turn it all the way to the left, we have reduced or removed the contrast from the image. So I'm going to reset that. I'm just going to add a little bit of contrast to the image. So after that, we have the highlights of the slider option. So for what the highlight does, it basically removes or gains back the highlights for the images. So if at all I turn the highlights all the way down, you can see we have regained. If at all you look right above here, because we have so much highlights right here, if at all I move it all the way down, you can see the blown out highlights have regained back their colors. So the sky has regained the blue color, and if at all I turn it all the way up, you can see it has turned out white and it has been desaturated and it looks blown out. So I'm going to zoom out by using control minus on the keyboard. That is the shortcut, or you can just click onto your image to zoom. So come, and I'm going to turn the highlights down. Then what the shadow option does, it removes shadows from the image. It kind of brightens the image, but it's going to be retaining most of the details, unlike the exposure that brightens the overall image. So this is only going to be working with the shadows in the image. So if at all we take this up slightly, you can see the shadows are just getting to look a little bit brighter. You can see the model's hair right here, and we are losing that beautiful black tone in the hair. So if at all you want to turn this slider all the way down, you can see it is only affecting the shadows of the image. So I don't want to overdo that, so I'm just going to turn it slightly up to around 24. Then I'm going to get back or reduce the whites in this image, because we want to compensate for the highlights. So in order to reduce the whites, turn this all the way down. You can see we are getting back the beautiful highlights in the image. Then we want to intensify or enhance the blacks. So when you turn this down, it adds blacks to the blacks in the image, and when you turn it up, it removes the blacks from the blacks in the image. So I prefer to turn it down slightly to around negative 13. So we also have the presence slider or option right here. So what presence does, it intensifies the image. So if we have this texture slider, so when you turn the texture slider up, it is going to add textures to the image, and that is more of sharpening the image. And when you turn it down, it is going to soften the image. I hope you can see what it really does. So it has softened the image. So we don't want to overdo that, because we want to retain the model's skin, you can see. So we're just going to turn it up slightly to around 2 to give it that little bit of sharpening. Then clarity also sharpens or enhances the darks or the image overall. So it kind of sharpens the image even more, so it works more like the texture. So I prefer to add a clarity of 5. You can see what we are just doing for this image. So let's say before and after. So when you click right here on the Y option, you can see you get the before and the after for the image. So we started here and we have just gotten here with just a movement of very few sliders for this image. So get back your image by just tapping right here. To get back your image, you just tap a couple of times and you'll get back your image. So just come and click right here to get back your image. So now we are going to look at the dehaze. So the dehaze either removes or adds that hazy kind of look to the image. If at all you took photos in a hazy or a place with mist, this is the slider you have to go in for. You can see when you turn it down, it adds that haze to the image, and when you turn it up, it removes the haze from the image. So I rarely use this slider for my adjustments. So next we have the vibrance and saturation sliders. So most people really confuse these two sliders right here. They confuse the two sliders because they work hand in hand, but I think what the vibrance really does is when you turn the vibrance up, it is going to add more color to the image to a great extent while still preserving the original skin tones, unless you take it all the way overboard. That is when it is going to add more color or saturation to the overall image. So we're going to reset that by double tapping right there, or you can just double tap on the vibrance word. So there are two options for resetting. So we're going to just turn it up slightly, so to around 1. So what saturation does, it just adds color or saturation to the overall image. So when you turn it all the way up, you get a saturated image, and when you turn it all the way down, you get a black and white image. So that is what saturation does. It either adds or removes colors completely from the overall image. So we wouldn't want that. Let's leave the image in a natural form. So after that, we have the tonal curve. So this is our tonal curve. So what the tonal curve really does is it enhances. You can see you just enhance particular areas of the image. So we have the shadows right here, the midtones right here, and the highlights right there. So if at all you want to brighten the highlights, just click, make a point there, and just take it up to brighten up the highlights. And you can make a point right down here to darken, like that. So it is more of adding more contrast to the image. So that is the tonal curve for you. And now you can come, we are going to come to the HSL panel, and this is really what works. So this is where the magic really happens. So for the HSL panel, it really targets specific colors in the image. So we want to work with different colors, that is red. It is more of the red, orange, yellow, green, aqua, and blue colors, and we want to target them individually. So let's take an example of the greens. So if at all you want to change the color of the green image or the green parts in the photo, we have this. You have two options. We have the color and the HSL, but I prefer that you should use the HSL panel because it gives you more control in the image. So if at all you want to work or change the greens in the image, and make sure you select the hues you select the hue option, and now come to the greens, click right there, and you can play around with the greens. So you can make them get that kind of autumn kind of look, and you can get that kind of bluish kind of feel. So we are going to go for around this. I think this works for this image because it is kind of complementary. So you can come to the saturation, and you can as well desaturate the greens if at all you want, or increase on the saturation. So I'm just going to turn the greens down a little bit. So remember, saturation either adds colors to a particular color in the HSL panel, or it either removes that color. So we want to reduce on the green color slightly. Then we have the luminance option, and the luminance either adds the lightness in that particular color, or it darkens a particular color in the image. So if at all I, for example, take the blues in the image, I'm going to just zoom in for purposes of understanding this quite well. So if I turn the blues down, you can see it has darkened the blues in the image, and if at all I turn it up, you can see it has lightened the blues in the image. So that is what the luminance option does when you're trying to play around with your hue, saturation, and luminance option in Adobe Lightroom. So after doing that, we are going to come to the split toning option. So what the split toning option, you target a particular color in the image and you can just increase the saturation. So if at all I want my highlights to have a little bit of oranges, I'm just going to move the hues to around that, and I can intensify or add that kind of brownish feel to the overall image like that. And now you can as well do the same for the shadows. Now if for example, if at all you want your shadows to have a particular color, you can just come and get a particular color you want. So I'm just going to go for that color and just come and increase on the saturation to apply that color in that particular area or the shadows of the image. So I'm just going to reset that because I don't want to, I rarely use the split toning for my images. So after that, we now have the detail panel. This is the detail panel. So what the detail basically does, it focuses on the details or the sharpness or the details in the overall image. So under the detail panel, we have sharpening. So sharpening basically is, as you know, how clear or how blurry an image is. So when you turn the sharpening down, the image is going to turn a little bit blurry. You can see that. And when you turn it up, you can see the image is going to really have so much detail. I hope you guys can see that. So just, I'm going to reset that. So if at all you want to sharpen your image, this is what you go in for. You can turn it up, but don't take it overboard, because when you take it really overboard or all the way towards 40 and you print out this image, it will really not look nice at all. That's why basically you have not to over sharpen the image. But if at all it is for posting on Instagram or on social media, you can sharpen it the way you want. So the radius actually focuses more on how the pixels are going to be spaced onto the image when you sharpen it. So when you turn the radius up, that is going to mean the pixels are going to be more separated. And there are times when you sharpen the image and the photo has that kind of halos on the edges and it has that kind of fringing. So you just have to come and reduce on the radius of the image. So detail, of course, that is self-explanatory. Adding more detail or enhancing the details in the image by turning up the slider. So now we have masking. So masking and amount and sharpening really work hand in hand, because when you sharpen the image, we don't want the sharpening to take place in the overall image. So when you do the sharpening, we only want the sharpening to take place on a particular image or the focused area. So when you hold down the alternate button on the keyboard or the alternate key on the keyboard and you drag this towards you click and drag towards your right hand side, you'll see the image will particularly get that focus or focus on the areas you really want to sharpen. So if at all you want to sharpen the whole image, just leave your masking all the way down. But if at all you want to sharpen the model only, hold down the alternate button and just drag towards the right until the model is getting to be seen like that. So it is going to sharpen only this area. So luminance is when you take an image and it has that kind of grain or noise in it. So you have to turn this all the way down, all the way up to reduce on the noise in the image. Let me show you what this does. So for this image, we have some kind of noise right here next to the model's ear. So when you turn it up, you can see they are really lost and you can no longer see that grain. And when you turn or reset this, you can see we get back that kind of noise. So that is what the noise reduction slider basically does. So you can as well choose reducing the noise in the colors of the image, or reducing the noise in the image, or reducing how smooth the noise reduction is taking place in the image by moving these sliders. And now we have the lens correction slider. So like I said, there are times when you have chromatic aberration in the image, and that is like a fringe on the outline of the image. So when you click this, it is going to automatically remove that chromatic aberration from the image. And there are times when, for example, if at all we use wide lenses, there is going to be some kind of distortion in the image. So if at all we want to remove that, just click enable lens correction. You can see what it is doing to the image. You can see this part right here. It is just trying to automatically correct for us the image. And here it has the detail. It is really showing us everything, the camera and the lens I used, and everything about that lens and the aperture, the lens information basically. Then right here we have the transform. I rarely use that, so I won't go into that. Then we have the effects. Under the effects we have the vignetting. So what the vignetting does basically is adding emphasis on the image. So you can darken the borders or the outline of the image for us to focus on the center, or give the image really more attention. Or you can add this dark border, or you can just add a white border. So that is more of what vignetting does. And you can adjust the roundness and the feathering to give it that kind of soft and nice look according to what you really want by adjusting these sliders. Then you can as well reduce the grain in the vignetted areas. Then after that we have the calibration. So the calibration option basically is more of what is going to help us to color grade the image. So when you're calibrating the image, we want to add or change specific colors in the image. So if at all, for example, we come to under the reds and we turn the hues up, you can see the reds are going to be hued towards the orange side, and you're going to be getting some really nice and golden tones in the model's skin. So you can as well reduce on the reds of the overall image when you're just trying to color grade that. So you can as well come under the greens and can just play around with it. So you can see when you hue the greens, that is what basically happens. So depending on what you're going in for, so you can as well come to the blue primary and just hue it. So this is more of if at all you're going for that kind of orange and teal look, you can just turn this down and play around with this slider too, and you get it to the one of your liking. So basically that is what the camera calibration slider does. So I think that is all for now. And now what we want to learn about, learn about these topmost options right here. So the very topmost option is the crop tool. So what the crop tool does, it enables us to resize or crop the images when we are doing the editing on them in Lightroom. So this is after selecting the crop option or the crop tool, and you move this slider. You'll notice that this slider is going to move in a way that is not going to be really distorted, and everything is going to move in that specific ratio. The reason being is because we have locked this padlock we have locked the crop settings, because we have locked the border. So even if we move it like this, it is going to move in that given ratio with all those ratios that are locked into the crop tool. So when you come and click on original, you can see the different crop sizes according to the way we want to crop our images. So we want to crop the image for Instagram for purposes of this tutorial, because we have an intention of posting the image onto Instagram. So just come and click 4:5, because this is the accepted crop ratio for Instagram. So click on it, and that is it. So you can as well adjust that to your liking, like that, until you feel like you're fine and okay with that, and just click enter on the keyboard to approve those crop settings. So next we have the spot removal tool. So under spot removal, you guessed it right, this helps us to remove spots or pimples or blemishes from the image. So when you click on it, and you can reduce on its size by using the left and the right brackets on the keyboard, or you can as well use this option, and just when you tap right there, it is going to sample for us where it is we are going to remove the blemish, and click enter, and it is going to remove that blemish. So like that, enter. So let's remove this right here, and just click enter, and it is gone. Click there, and it's gone. So just tap, and like that, you can see it basically removes the pimples or blemishes. But for purposes of blemish removal, I would recommend Photoshop, because Lightroom is more of giving us the very first step for our editing process. So next we have the red eye correction, and for what the red eye correction is, usually people who use flash for shooting, you usually have that. So just tap in the red eye, and it is going to be corrected or removed from that particular area. So now we are going to look at I want to look at these because they are more of advanced. And now we have this adjustment brush. So when you click on the adjustment brush, basically I prefer to use the adjustment brush to target specific areas I want to apply the effect on. So when you click on the adjustment brush, it has different settings embedded in it. So when you click on it, you'll see exposure, everything is going to be there. So I'm going to reset everything in the adjustment brush. So I've clicked on it, and I want to maybe brighten this particular area, and in order to do that, I'm just going to pump up the exposure like that, and it maybe increase the shadows. I'm just trying to do a guesswork, and now just come and paint over that particular area. And if at all I feel it is not giving me a more kind of the look I want, I'll just come back on the exposure, and I'm just going to turn it up. You can see what the adjustment brush tool works or does in Lightroom. So basically that is what the adjustment brush tool does. So we are going to now go back to the image, and now this is the image so far. So let's see the before and after for this very image. So this is the image before and this is the after. So you can see what we have just done with just a few sliders for retouching or editing this image in Lightroom. So this tutorial has been about the basic Lightroom for beginners and how to edit your images or your photos in Lightroom as a beginner. So now we want to save or export our images in the computer or a given location. Would like to save the images after editing them. So I'm going to get back the image. So make sure it is selected, and if at all you have a couple of images, click Ctrl and click on the images you want. Yeah, and if at all you want to export everything you have edited, just click on Ctrl A or Ctrl A for selecting everything. And if at all you have done settings and you showed all the images in a given location and you want to export all of them, yeah, you want to export all of them with the same lighting and coloring, and you don't want to go back to these adjustments like that, you can just come and copy these settings and copy them and just paint them on a given image, as long as they are shot in a given environment, so that you can have that unique kind of look. So when you copy these settings, you copy everything. So click copy and click on the image you want maybe to paste those settings onto. Yeah, when you click on it, just come and click right here on paste to paste the settings on that very image. So after you have edited your image, we want to save or export the image. So come to file and click export. So when you click export, you'll have this option, export location. This basically means where we want the image to be saved after we have exported it in our Adobe Lightroom. So under the export tool, we're going to drop that down and look for a specific folder where we want to save our images. So we are going to click on a specific folder. So maybe if at all I wanted to save my image on my desktop, I'm going to click desktop, and I could put it in a subfolder. You can just rename this Lightroom, and when you name that Lightroom, click enter, and it is going to export the image. And I think that was that kind of error. So just come back to export, as just approving the folder we want to save the image. Make sure you activate it, and now we are going to come right down, and you can rename your files. So by clicking that, we can rename the files by just coming right here and choosing either a lower or uppercase. And now if at all you are editing a video in Lightroom, you can put the settings you want, the video quality and format, but for this tutorial we only had a photo, so we are going to skip that. And now we're going to come right here to the file settings. So this is where most people go wrong when they are trying to export their images. So first of all, we want the image format to be a JPEG, because JPEG really works with most of maybe social media and different softwares or websites. And make sure the quality is 100%, and the color space is sRGB. The reason for this is because sRGB works with most social media platforms, for example Instagram and Facebook. Then for the resize or image sizing, you can make sure, if at all you're going to print the image, you can put the settings you would like to print your image in. And now you can just come and add that little bit of sharpening when you're exporting your image or your file. So I prefer to sharpen for screen, because I'm not going to print the image, so you can just click right here and activate it. So I prefer to sharpen for screen. And for the amount, I prefer a high amount because I want my images to always be that really sharp. Then you can as well include metadata or your copyright information in and embed it in your image. So this is the metadata. It is going to be the information that is going to be embedded in your images. So right here you have the watermarking option. So right here you can add a given watermark to your image. So you can activate or click on this box to activate that option. Then come under and drop down right here, and you can come and edit watermarks if it is the first time you're trying to export. So it is going to take a little while to bring the option for us, so let's be a little bit patient. So this is where you put the settings for your watermark and everything. So if at all you want your logo, or maybe you want a text as your watermark, you'll click the text option. But for purposes of this tutorial, I want my logo, this is my logo right here, to be my watermark. So you choose the location where your watermark or logo is stored, and when you click on it, it is going to give you that location. And now you come under, so this is the text option. So we are going to come under the watermark effects, and the opacity you have to either turn it down if at all you want it to be really not transparent, or if at all you want it to be visible enough, just turn the opacity up. And the size, this basically increases or decreases on the size of the watermark. Then you can as well move the watermark horizontally onto your image. You can see it moving right there, and you can as well move it either up or down, or that is a vertical movement. So that is basically what we do. And now under the anchor point, we have, you can place it in the middle, up, right in the center of the image, or on the bottom left, and you can save the settings. So this watermark is going to be put on all the images when you export them in Lightroom. So after you're done with setting all these up, just click on export. So you're going to see your progress right above here under next to the Lightroom logo, and your images are going to be exported and stored onto a given location that you saved when you're putting in your export settings. So this tutorial basically has been about the basic Lightroom adjustments for a beginner, or how to edit your images or your photos in Lightroom as a beginner. And if at all you love this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if at all you're watching from this channel from anywhere you are. And for the very first time, I'm Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet another retouching tutorial on this channel. And don't forget to keep creating.